You guys heard that song? Anybody heard that song before? All right, hi, my name is Priya Iyer, and I, like Rosalind, am a millennial. So I want to start, you're all welcome. So I want to start with a quick story for you. I moved to New York City, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, at the ripe age of 22, for a job at a Broadway producing company. And to me, that was like the dream come true. It was the star in the sky. I had spent so much time thinking about it, and I walked in the door on the first day, and I was blatantly the youngest person in the room. Blatantly the youngest person in the room. And nobody let me forget that for the first week that I was there. So I spent my entire time at that company hiding my age and pretending that I wasn't really young and pretending that maybe no one would notice if I didn't talk about it and hoping that I wouldn't lose my credibility and hoping that people would still take me seriously. And it was, you know, the experience that it was. And then I came to Capacity Interactive where I walked in the door, and on the first day, it became clear to me that the leadership team empowered everybody in the room to embrace their full selves and bring their full selves to work, millennial and all. So here I am today, standing in front of you, encouraged by the president of our company, the amazing Eric Gensler, to embrace my millennial and to talk digital storytelling. So, like many millennials in the room, can we all raise our hands if we're a millennial? Yes, okay, I see you all, hello. Like many millennials, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Don't get me wrong, I love it in my personal life, I love it in my work life, but in my personal life, things are a little bit more complicated. However, the fact of the matter is that according to the newest iPhone update screen time data, Facebook and Instagram are the places where I spend most of my time. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is. I've had a Facebook since I was in high school. I've had an Instagram since I was in college, and I was late to the game. So Facebook and Instagram have been a huge part of my life for a long time, and especially now. So let's get down to business and talk #goals. I think everybody in this room can agree that Facebook and Instagram are incredible platforms to leverage when it comes to selling tickets, driving revenue, but that's not all that they can do for us. Especially over the past few years, Facebook has grown immensely as an advertising platform. And so today, I'm here to show you some of the out-of-the-box ways that some of our clients have leveraged Facebook and Instagram. My hope is that this will stretch your imagination a little bit, that you'll walk away feeling a little bit inspired, but most importantly, you'll feel empowered to go back to your desks and make an impact differently on Facebook and Instagram. So let's spill the tea. I could honestly stand up here for hours and hours and hours and talk to you about many, many, many different unique ways to use Facebook and Instagram. But given my 21 minutes of allotted time left, I've boiled down to 4 main focuses today to set us up for some case studies. So first up, extra AF ad formats. So I think many of us in the room are familiar with some of the more standard ad formats, the photo post, the video post, even your run-of-the-mill carousel ad. However, what about lead generation ads? Ads that allow you to create a customized pop-up form directly within Facebook so that you can collect leads from your audiences without ever making them leave. Or how about offer ads, where you can share private and public offers with your audiences? How about Instagram story ads to keep up with your everyday millennial? Or how about Canvas ads? Ads that allow you to create a mobile immersive experience, especially for your top-of-funnel brand new audiences, giving them the opportunity to discover what you're about and what you have to offer without ever making them leave Facebook or Instagram. Or how about event ads that allow your audiences to interact without having to officially buy a ticket in the moment? All they have to do is click interested, especially if the event itself is not ticketed. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. There's a lot that we can do on Facebook and Instagram when it comes to ad formats. Next up, not so basic branding. As I think most of us in this room know, the reach on Facebook and Instagram is incredible. It's the perfect place to reinforce your brand for your existing audiences and to establish your brand for brand new audiences. On top of that, with so many people on these platforms daily, it's the perfect place to achieve your marketing goals. KPIs on fleek. Again, I think most of us are familiar with the idea of tickets, revenue, butts and seats, but what if that's not all it's about? Through Facebook and Instagram's pixel and ads reporting, there are so many different ways to measure success. So much so that sometimes even when you have tickets and revenue to track, it's nice to better understand some micro conversions along the way so that you can better understand what your audiences are actually doing within the platform and once they get to your site. And finally, growing your squad. Website retargeting is an incredibly powerful tactic, and having the ability to use Facebook and Instagram's incredible acquisition tools and storytelling opportunities is invaluable. And this is actually a screenshot of display Google Ads growing in remarketing pools. So this is a great reminder that through Facebook and Instagram efforts, you're not only setting yourself up for success for future Facebook and Instagram campaigns, but also setting yourself up for success in all of the other channels that you're using. Great, so who's nailing it? Let's take some time now to look at a few of the different organizations that we work with who are nailing it when it comes to extra AF ad formats, not so basic branding, KPIs on fleek, and growing their squad. So first up, I have Cleveland Institute of Music. Cleveland Institute of Music came to us last year to leverage Facebook and Instagram to drive applications and increase their applicant pool. Many of you can relate to this type of goal when it comes to classes or camp registrations, things like that. Digital hadn't been a big part of their mix previously, with the exception of email marketing, but they saw a lot of potential in the platform, especially with the demographic that they were trying to reach with undergraduate students, but also they saw it as a great avenue in general to increase and diversify their applicant pool. So at the beginning of the campaign, we invested heavily in acquisition audiences, those top of funnel audiences, to fill our marketing funnel with as many prospects as possible. So we invested in an audience of lookalikes modeled off of those who had applied in previous years, as well as two interest segments, one that was focused in student prospects and one that was focused in the decision makers, the parent prospects. We narrowed all of these top of funnel audiences by location based on a report that CIM was able to send to us to show us where historically the highest number of applicants had come from. We served all audiences, top, middle, and bottom of funnel, posts like this with thumb-stopping imagery and really, really enticing copy to talk about what it would be like to actually partake in a program at Cleveland Institute of Music. We served similar content on Instagram, especially at the beginning of the campaign. It was a great discovery tool for those acquisition audiences, giving them the opportunity to better understand what CIM was all about. And again, it was perfect for that demographic of many undergraduate students. As the campaign continued, we invested more in growing middle and bottom of funnel audiences. So audiences of people who had visited specific pages on the CIM site, audiences who came directly from the CIM database, as well as an application started pool. This was an audience of people who had created an account, gotten to the application instructions page, but had yet to actually submit. So this is very similar to abandoned cart or add to cart targeting within single ticket or subscription campaigns. As we invested more and more in lower funnel audiences as the campaign was coming to a close, we served posts like this one to the audiences who had already raised their hand for Cleveland Institute of Music. This was actually a video series that they were able to do with different students highlighted in the different programs that they had to offer. Now, given that this wasn't a ticket-based campaign, we had to measure our success a little bit differently than we normally would. So certainly we were tracking key page views of the landing page of the ads, but we were also able to track some other micro-conversions along the way. So we were able to measure how effectively we were driving people to create an account and actually start their application. And then, of course, we were also able to track the unique submission URL for these applications. So that was a non-refreshable URL, meaning that anytime someone landed on that page, that would be a unique key page view that then could tell us how many applications we actually were able to influence through Facebook and Instagram. 51% of all applications submitted that year were influenced by our Facebook and Instagram campaigns. And even more exciting, CIM saw a 12% increase in total applications submitted year over year. Now, we spent about $9,000, and we were able to reach over 350,000 unique audience members for a cost of just 3 cents per unique member. So Cleveland Institute of Music nailed it when it came to KPIs on fleek, thinking about each phase of that campaign differently and measuring our success a little bit differently and growing their squad. A big reason for the success of this campaign was the time that we spent growing our pools through our acquisition efforts at the beginning of the campaign. And that deserves a happy dance. This is my colleague Allison. She is somewhere in the room. She's amazing and probably really red right now. Love you, Allison. Awesome. Next up, I have La Jolla Playhouse, who is sitting in this very room. La Jolla Playhouse came to us last year with a desire to add branding efforts to their digital mix. They had spent time investing in single-ticket campaigns and seen the success of that through Facebook and Instagram, but they wanted to spend some time putting their wins out as an organization to increase their brand clout. So we targeted a full funnel of audiences over the course of 14 months with 11 intermittent posts. Essentially, anytime we had something exciting to share, we put some money behind it and got it out to those audiences who mattered to us. We used a Facebook campaign objective that prioritized reach so that we were able to reach as many unique people as possible for the lowest cost per reach. And we served posts like this one, highlighting the artistic director at Radio City Music Hall for the Tonys. Posts like this one, highlighting the exciting journey of a production that started on a La Jolla Playhouse stage and ended up on Broadway. And posts like this one, highlighting the incredible call out of an organization from a very credible news source. Through this campaign, we were able to reach over 100,000 unique audience members at a cost of just 2 cents per unique member. On top of that, we achieved a KPV conversion rate of over 10%, meaning that over 10% of the impressions that we served resulted in a site visit of some sort. We spent just over $2,000 over the course of this 14 months with the 11 intermittent posts. And on top of that, almost 14% of the impressions that we served resulted in some form of engagement on Facebook. Now, let me ask you this. What other branding campaign can you measure like that? All right. So La Jolla Playhouse nailed it when it came to not so basic branding, KPIs on fleek, prioritizing reach over those tickets and that revenue, and growing their squad. Yes, Queen. All right, next up I have Pennsylvania Ballet, who is also sitting in the room today. They came to us to investigate promoting their summer intensive auditions through social. So they had an audition tour coming up, and they definitely wanted to spend some time focusing in on those individual audition dates in those individual cities. But they also wanted to be able to reach audiences who had already raised their hand in interest of Pennsylvania Ballet in the past. And then, once we were said and done with the auditions, they wanted to be able to reach students who had been accepted but had yet to actually register for the summer intensive. So, per usual, at first we thought about acquisition. We served posts like these to audiences of lookalikes geo-targeted to the various cities where the auditions were taking place. All of these posts were event posts, which means that we were giving our brand new audiences the opportunity to interact with us with very, very little commitment. All they had to do was click interested to start. Second, we thought about people who had raised their hand for Pennsylvania Ballet in some way, whether that be visiting specific pages on the site, whether that be coming directly from the database, or whether that be responding to one of the events that we had been promoting. We served these audiences non-city specific posts with the goal of getting them to the site. So our goal here was really to have these audiences get to the site, better understand what they would need to do to actually audition, and better understand what those details would be behind the registration process itself. And finally, once the auditions were over, we served private dark posts like this one to the audience of students who had been accepted but had yet to actually register. So these posts very much focused in on the benefits of the summer intensive with the goal of getting these audiences to actually register for the summer intensive. Did we do it? Pennsylvania Ballet saw a 40% increase in total auditions for the summer intensive year over year. We spent just over $7,300, and we were able to drive over 13,000 key page views for a cost of just about 50 cents per key page view. So Pennsylvania Ballet nailed it with their extra ad formats, especially with their event response toward the beginning of the campaign. Their KPIs on fleek, really measuring success differently in each phase of this campaign. If we had gone into the campaign and hoping from that first phase that we would be able to get those people right to the landing page, right to the audition, we wouldn't have been as successful. We really had to think about our expectations for each segment of this campaign. And then finally, of course, growing their squad. These audiences that we drove to the site are also going to set us up for success in future campaigns. Pennsylvania Ballet, it's lit. All right, last but far from least, I have Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park, who is also sitting in the room, who came to us this year with the desire to do a 100% digital on sale. Now, we've been working with Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park for a few years now, and they've seen so much potential in digital, so they decided to put all of their on-sale eggs into one virtual basket. We did this campaign in 3 phases: lead generation, pre-sale, and then finally, the public on-sale. Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park offers a pre-sale to anybody on their email list for a week leading up to the public on-sale. To grow this list of leads, we served lead generation ads for the 2 weeks leading up to the presale. These ads offered a pop-up form directly within the platform to collect email addresses from our audiences with a gift of skipping the line, or that actual presale code that they would receive later on. We followed those lead generation ads up with private dark posts like this one, offering the actual presale code to not only the audiences from whom we had collected leads in the prior 2 weeks, but also the audiences who had already joined the email list in advance. And then finally came the actual public on sale. So we targeted a full funnel of audiences with timeline posts like this one, not only highlighting the individual shows within the season, but highlighting the experience of coming to the Playhouse, understanding what that experience was going to look like for an entire season. Our goal here, of course, was to get our audiences to buy early. So did we do it? Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park saw a 14% increase in total single ticket revenue year over year, resulting in their most successful single ticket on sale ever. Yes, Cincinnati. On top of that, 88% of total pre-sales were sold online, and with an investment of over $17,000, we were able to drive a return on investment of over 500%. So Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park nailed it in 4 ways, all the ways. Extra AF ad formats, thinking about lead generation at the beginning especially. Not so basic branding. All of this was very much a branding effort for their season and for the Playhouse in general. KPIs on fleek, again, measuring success differently through each phase of the campaign and growing their squad. Through this campaign, all of that new site traffic that we had is now part of our retargeting pools for the single ticket campaigns that will take place this season. And I will drink to that. And soon, so will all of you. We're one step closer to your reception. That's all that I have for you today. I hope that you feel a little bit stretched in your imagination. I hope you feel a little bit more inspired, but most importantly, I hope that you feel empowered to go back to your desks and make an impact differently on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go get them for questions. We have 15 minutes for questions. Anybody have any? I think there's one over there. Oh, good.
Priya, the dark posts that you do, whenever I try to upload a list to Facebook and market to that list, because our biggest problem right now is 30% of our ticket buyers are new when we have a show, but getting them to come back, so I'd love to target them.
Yeah.
Facebook always says that the list is too small and I can't show my content.
Got it. So you need to have at least 100 people on the list itself to upload. Do you have that?
2,000.
Okay, so sometimes it's a question of how many different data points you're actually uploading. So when you're uploading, are you just uploading emails? So there are a few other data points. I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but you can also use first name, last name, city, state, country, birth date. Like I'm sure I'm forgetting other ones, but there are a bunch of other ones too. So if you're able to collect all of those pieces of information when you're uploading, you'll probably get a higher match rate, and then you should be able to serve it. There's some back there. Okay.
You pass this on? Yes. Thanks. Thank you for speaking. I have a question. Can you talk a little bit about how to manage up to a general director or a boss or someone else in your organization that might want to post all of the content versus relating it to the brand? So sort of getting scooped by your own GD. Or just like what comes under your brand versus what comes out of individuals from an institution and from an audience perspective?
I'll go for it.
Well, when it comes to talking to people that don't know too much about how social media works, I actually really, it's one of the things that I really enjoy to do, and that's why I enjoyed going up on that stage earlier, like I said, talking to our whole staff about what social media is, and yeah, I've even had sit downs, just one-on-ones with our VP, and just talk it out and let them know that yeah, it's great when you send that email to post this video immediately because this artist is coming up. I know, they're coming, but I do let her know that we have a strategy in place. We work with capacity to have a strategy in place, and yeah, I like having those one-on-ones though to let them know what we do.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it is about getting people on the same page. I'm lucky enough that we have because I'm the marketing assistant, but then the marketing manager, and then the director of marketing. But we all kind of understand there is a strategy, and we're able to advocate for that to our general to our artistic director and to our managing director. So there's just this faith that we will be able to get that content out there, and that we know what we're doing. So yeah, just making sure that you have a team of advocates. I would say not just doing it alone as well helps out in order to be hey, this is how we do it. This is gonna happen, and it's gonna happen great. So.
And the only thing I'll add is I think sometimes one of the most amazing things about digital is that we can measure it. So I think if there is an opportunity to test it, to try the things that maybe happen over and over in these conversations, test it once, and then let the data speak for itself.
stats really speak to some people, is what
Yeah.
I've learned. Yeah.
For sure.
Anybody else?
Does someone
Oh, there's one over there. I don't know where the mic is.
Oh, okay.
Hello. With respect to using event response campaigns for something like a summer intensive, can you kind of magnify how you came to that idea? I know we've used event response for free events in the past, but it would never have occurred to me to use it for something that even the parents, well, in the case of like a summer intensive, maybe it's the parents who are listing themselves as interested, or kind of what your thought processes were behind that?
Yeah, I actually personally didn't work on this campaign. I feel like Ali Leskowitz is over there in the room and maybe can get a mic and shed more insight. But I think definitely in general with event response campaigns, I feel like it just gives the opportunity to have somebody engage with a post without actually making them do much. And because of that, it's nice, especially at the beginning when you're thinking about acquisition, to think about it in that way so that you can get people into a pool. They've raised their hand in one way, and then you can try to get them to do one more step. So I think that was definitely part of the process, but if Ali has a mic, I will let her elaborate.
So, oh wow, that's really loud. For PA Ballet, we had a pretty limited budget, and it was going to like 17 cities over the course of, I think it was 4 months. So it was really an idea of how do we stretch this budget as much as possible. And event responses, it's a really efficient way to spend. So that's really where that came from, was like getting people to be aware that this was happening, and how can we do it in a cost-efficient way, and then we could later retarget them.
I have also one thing to add about Facebook events. One thing that I did with our staff, again, getting the staff on board with social media, I actually sent out an all-staff email about, hey, we have all these Facebook events. We have at least 30 of them because that's how many concerts we have in a summer. I sent that out to our whole staff and I said, hey, just say that you're interested or going to it. And then, because we know how Facebook works, that their friends saw it on their news feeds, and like already our staff of like 30 full-time staff, they got the message out to their friends, and it was a great just like audience builder already and getting people interested. And our staff members started getting texts from their friends saying like, oh, I didn't know you had this group coming to Carramore. And it was like a really cool experiment that worked, and we just telling the staff to accept or say interested to Facebook events really worked out for us too.
Hi, thank you for your presentations. I was curious if you are a performing arts center with a lot of different events happening at the same time, different genres, if you have best practices or learnings on every show has its own funnel, or do you orchestrate things to a common landing page sometimes? I noticed you did have a landing page called Newbie Guide, so any learnings around that?
So we work with a lot of performing arts centers, and I think one of the biggest challenges is that oftentimes each show has its own budget, and there isn't really flexibility in that. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. So I think that's the thing that's most difficult, because I think from a strategic perspective, oftentimes what works best is thinking in a branding mindset and thinking about shows in different genres and thinking about acquisition from a more holistic place. And then once we get to actually driving our middle and bottom of funnel audiences to purchase, then we're able to serve more show-specific content. Again, easier to say than to actually do when it comes to show-specific budgets. We certainly do work with performing arts centers who do run individual campaigns for each of the shows, and there is a lot of success in that version of it as well. I think it just becomes a question of the volume all happening all at once, and how we're able to uniquely speak to audiences, not compete against ourselves within the Facebook and Instagram auctions. All those questions come to play. So I think for those competition reasons, this more branding strategy tends to work better. But again, not always possible.
For us, we strategize heavily with our Capacity Interactive team, of course, our marketing team, and also our audience services team, because as marketing, we get daily sales reports of how all of our shows are going. And then we also have weekly marketing reports that send out to the whole staff, but also get sent to capacity. So they're up to date with how our shows are going as well. So we have a bi-weekly call with them, with capacity, and we get to talk about how our shows are doing, so we can change or adjust certain budgets here and there. And a lot of our strategy goes to either obviously trying to promote the shows that we know are going to need some help, but also promoting the shows that have like the big star name to it and getting, you know, our face and name out there as well. So we have like a lot of back and forth with our great team at CI, so that also helps us too.
Right here in the middle. So a relatively new challenge is we do a lot of collaborations. Maybe the college university singers would join a production. We also have a performing arts center that our ticketing venue runs through, and they have 5 different user groups. And we've been doing social for a while, and now they've discovered it, so now they're creating events for our performances. And I just thought I would ask if you have a best practices or delicate way to instruct them that that's technically our event and not theirs, and that if they just work with us, the message will get out.
That's
Yeah,
that's
real.
a hard one. I feel like one thing that came to mind just off the bat is that if they're unwilling to not create those events, you can ask for access, like advertiser access, so that you can target the people who respond to their events, which, you know, could be helpful. But I think in general, maybe having a conversation around like what their goal is and what your goal is, and kind of bringing to light maybe how those work together and maybe how those are maybe the same, and kind of having a conversation about how we're all kind of having these efforts for one common goal. How can we delegate within our team all together to better fit the needs for each and every one of us? That's not a very technical answer. I don't know.
I think I have a solution for you. There is something on Facebook events where you co-host with someone, and we do that with our artists actually more recently. So we say like Caramore, you know, is presenting an event, but you can request access, or not access, you can request that an artist, for us at least, become a co-host to the event, and then now we both kind of have access to the event, we can promote it. And another way of like being on each other's radar, like I mentioned earlier, yeah, I think that might be a good solution for you, is just because that way when you see the event right underneath it, it says hosted by, you know, this university and this theater, whatever it is. So I think that might work out.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. Quick question about ads tracking. Facebook recently said that they are now offering a first-party cookie instead of the normal third-party cookie. And I was wondering if you had any insights as to whether that would be an advantage for us or anything we should watch out for in terms of new KPI. I mean, right now they're saying, it's gonna be great, you'll get all the information. But outside of Facebook, someone who works for Facebook, what are your thoughts and what should we look for?
To me, my understanding of this moving to the first party is really a reaction to Safari's recent Intelligent Tracking Prevention 2.0, I think is what it's called, where basically like they're trying to prevent people from doing the same levels of cookie. So by bringing that from a third party to a first party cookie, I think really that's Facebook's way of combating that, so that we're no longer able to cookie for our Facebook campaigns. So we see it as positive. Also,
and this is also going to be the last question.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for your time and for your talks. I have kind of more of like a visual question, so it's like nerdy in an aesthetic way, I guess. How important is it in this world of Instagram to have your feed looking a certain way? Because there's a balance between, I guess, having those awesome in the moment behind the scenes things that you want to share and you want people to see, but it will disrupt the aesthetic of what people see maybe when they're first-time visitors and don't really know what's happening if they want to get a story. So how do you balance that out? Is it just by using a story? Is it by choosing to save it and not post it and use it as a throwback on a different platform? Do you have any suggestions for going about the curatorial process?
Well, one way I think might be like an easy like start off way is you could just have like all beautifully curated content for your feed, and like you said, like use Instagram stories for behind the scenes stuff. I think that's why Instagram stories has succeeded, where now you have this combination that it's all right there. Like for instance, Snapchat was just stories and that's all it was. But now with Instagram, you get this beautiful combination of a platform for behind the scenes, maybe that gritty content that you're afraid to put on your feed. And then for your main account, I would say that that's your chance then to curate that nice content, because that's what Instagram has kind of formed into at first. Like all social media channels were a chance to just do, say what you're doing in the moment content, and that's what it was, and it's definitely transformed into something else. So I think you have that beautiful balance, especially on Instagram.
And also just piggybacking off that, like now you have highlights, so you can kind of use past Instagram story content and like hold on to that, and people can check that out. And we actually use that to kind of extend certain life of like certain campaigns. So it can be fun.
Totally. Yeah, I love the highlight bubbles that show up. Yeah. All right.
Cool. So it's break time. Please enjoy snacks sponsored by Cinnovative and fill up your water bottles in the lobby. There are 3 snack stations, 2 upstairs, 1 downstairs. We'll see you back at 4:30.